Hi folks, Mark White here again, and welcome to the latest video on going electric. To be honest, this is the video we've been looking forward to doing more than anything, because it means that the lockdown stuff is starting to get released. We can do a little bit more travelling, and this weekend we're going to be staying in some self-contained holiday rental at Harrogate. So this is the first time when we're going to do really a proper long journey, and also a lot of travelling around while on holiday. So we actually have no choice but to use public chargers for the first time. So we have tried in the past and failed because the charge didn't work, but that was more of a test. This time we have no option. We've got to use public chargers. Now, key thing for this is obviously doing a bit of research. Again, it's not like driving a petrol car where you know you can get fuel everywhere. We do need to plan this a little bit more carefully and think about where we're going to charge, both en route and also while we're there. So let's start by using ZapMap, and let's do some research and see what we can find. Okay, here we are in ZapMap. I'm going to use the desktop version because it's easy to record. Obviously you can do this on a mobile device, and instantly you can see how many chargers there are in England and Wales. That's just, there's loads and loads of options for charging, as you can see. Not all necessarily fast chargers, but plenty of chargers out there. But what we need to do is obviously plan our route, and what we're going to do is plan a route from where we live, sort of near Lichfield. So let's start at Lichfield, and let's look at the destination, and let's go to Harrogate. And we obviously can play around with some options. So the one thing I want to do here is maybe avoid tolls. I don't really want to be going on the M6 toll road at all. And also what I'm going to do is change my EV range, because although officially it does 190 odd miles, that is not going to happen on a journey that's pretty much dual carriageway all the way and motorways. So I'm more feeling safer with maybe thinking, maybe 130 miles is safe, and then if the journey is longer than that, we know we need to charge en route. I think the journey is actually less than 130, so ZapMap won't suggest any chargers in this particular case. So I'm going to leave that blank because I'm not comfortable not charging going all the way. I don't want to arrive in Harrogate with the car almost empty. I prefer to stop for a coffee and a comfort break and just do a bit of a top up en route. So let's see what it comes up with. Basically got a couple of different options. Don't really want to be doing the long route, so that's probably out. So let's do the 113 mile route and have a look at what we've got there. So this is the route that it's suggesting. It's showing the rapid chargers on the route. Obviously it's pointless charging too early, so let's have a look how far we can get with a reasonable amount of charge in the car and what's safe. Now, this is the interesting thing here. I've already done a little bit of research, and this for me is something that I feel comfortable with. So we've got a rapid charger there that we could take a look at. It's Ecotricity. It's got 3 chargers, and if we have a look at that, we can see a little bit more about that. So let's just check this out. So they're 50 kilowatt chargers, so that's pretty good. There have been issues reported on these devices, but there have also been people charging recently. That one's available. That was used a week ago. So that looks okay. I've heard bad things about Ecotricity chargers, and they're not particularly great, so I'm not 100% confident, but it looks to be a good point. It's also services, so stop for a coffee, stop for a comfort break as well. And just from an information point of view, we can see that's coming in at 30p a kilowatt hour for charging, so that's one option that we've got there. Now, the other reason I've chosen this is because there's actually 2 other options nearby. So if there is an issue with this charger, or people are using them, then we don't have to go very far to find a Genie Point charger at Morrisons just down the road, or in this particular case an Osprey charger as well at a retail park nearby. So it's 86 miles away, as you can see there, or 85 for the services, so well within range. And it does mean that hopefully if we can get charged on a 50 kilowatt charger for half an hour, we will arrive at Harrogate with plenty of charge left in the car. And there's a reason why I want to do that, because there is only really one charger in Harrogate. And when we took a look at this particular charger, we found that there's one particular requirement there that I'm not 100% comfortable with, and that is that this charger is limited to 30 minutes of charging. So again, 30 minutes will probably be plenty, but again, I don't really want to be arriving with the car empty and not be able to, top it up pretty well. So that particular charger is something that probably doesn't concern me, but there are 3 of them there, and it is one of those things where just the 30-minute limit is a little bit of a concern. It's quite good because it means cars will turn quite quickly, and if it is full, then people will be moving off quite quickly as well. But I think that's going to be our regular daily top-up charger that we'll probably take a look at. We did also consider another route, and I just want to show you a particular charger that was interesting. Let's have a look at Leeds, because what I was thinking is whether to go via Leeds as an option, and I'll show you why in a second. If we just zoom out a little bit and look on the outskirts of Leeds and have a little bit of a look at the chargers that are on the outskirts. So this is the one that interested me the most. So this is an alternative route going around the M1 rather than the shortest route. The reason I looked at this is this has got 6 Ionity chargers. Now there's a reason why I looked at this one, because firstly there's 6 chargers, so there's plenty of choice. I know that the Ionity chargers are much newer chargers, but the thing that's really impressive is if you look at these are 350 kilowatt chargers. Incredibly fast charging network that they've got there. Now our car can only receive 100 kilowatts, so we're not going to get the benefit of the 350 kilowatt charger. We'll only get 100 kilowatts, so we're not going to see the full benefit of that. But to be honest, the main reason I discounted this is the price. And if you look at this is 69p a kilowatt hour. So it's more than double the cost of the other chargers that we looked at earlier. You're obviously paying for the benefit of it being super fast, but unless you're driving something like a Porsche Taycan or something like that, then that charger's absolutely no use to you, in fairness. It's double the speed of the other one, but it's also double the price. And actually, if you look at that, it's 12 times the price of what I'm charging at home. So we've decided to go down the other route, and what we're going to do is use the Ecotricity chargers and hope that they work okay for us. So we'll see how that goes. So again, I'll record another step of this video in the morning when we can start the journey and see how we are with the car, how much range we've got, and then we'll keep a record and a track of the charging activity along the way. Morning folks, it's 8:30 Saturday morning, and finally we can go away and put some proper miles on the car and give it a real good test. Before I do that, I just thought I'd show you the boot, because we didn't look at the boot in any great detail. It's the first time we've packed to go away, so I just thought I'd show you that as well, and we'll also have a look at the status of the car from a charge point of view and range, and then we'll hit the road and see what happens. Now there you go, so boot's packed, ready to go. I must say that Lindsay's a bit of a boot packing ninja. I would never get all of this into the car, but you can see that's a reasonable amount of stuff that we've got in there. Big thing is the suitcase. Really quite pleased the suitcase goes in full lengthways and flat, so that's created loads of space. More importantly, the alcohol and stuff's in there ready for the apartment we're staying in. So let's have a look inside the car and see what the status is charge-wise and stuff. You have to excuse the glare on the camera. It's an absolutely glorious day and the sun's shining straight onto the windscreen, but just thought I'd give you some sort of idea. You can see here we've got 185 miles, it says range, and somewhere there you go underneath the 0 1,368 miles is what we're starting with, so car's fully charged, ready to go. I'm just going to switch it into eco mode and just not sport mode, whoops, wrong way. So switch it into eco mode and see what that does to the range. And yeah, you can see there it's gone up to 193 miles. No way on earth we're going to get 193 miles out of this today. It's all pretty much motorway and dual carriageway driving, so if we get 130 I'll be pretty pleased with it, to be truthful. Okay, sat nav. Again, just a chance to show you the sat nav. What we've got here is where we're going to go, so let's see if it can pick up Ferrybridge services. Let's get rid of that, because that's what we looked at yesterday on is that there? Let's have a look, see what it gives us. So it didn't pick up the service station itself by the looks of it, but I think that's probably where we want to go. It basically says it's 87 miles, get there at 4 minutes past 10, so should be well within the range. So I'll tell you what, let's hit the road. Okay, good news, we've made it to Ferrybridge services. So just looking at what we've got sort of range and distance wise, so it's 85 miles to get here. We've got 58 miles worth of range left, so what's that, 130 odd miles, and fortunately we've got some charge points that are free, so fingers crossed we'll have a look, see if we can get these chargers to work. See you in a second. Okay, so here we are, eco-tricity chargers. One of them wasn't working, one's in use, found a third one, and I suppose this is the first challenge, is getting it plugged in, because we've tried it with the car reversed into the spot and the cable wouldn't reach. We've tried coming in forward so that the charger's at the back and still the cable wouldn't reach, so the only thing we can do is Lindsay's going to sort of pull the car right up to this van here to get as close to the charger as possible, so hopefully we can get the cable round the car, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, stupid length on cables, really just aren't big enough. Crikey, that's tight. Yeah, so we finally got it in, but if you look at that you can see how little cable we've got to be able to reach the charger, and that's a bit mad really. Hey ho, yes. Right, let's see if we can get the app working. Okay, I think we're in luck. It seems to be that we've managed to set up the app, so the Ecotricity app. I had to register a user ID and a password, set up a credit card, and it seems to be charging at 30p a kilowatt hour. I've got to admit the screens are pretty rubbish, very difficult to see the screen in the sunlight and reflecting, but at least it seems to be charging. So let's go and have a comfort break, have a cup of tea, and see how we get on. Okay, just to mention the unexpected benefits and unfortunately the unexpected cost of EV charging, and that is Greg's sausage rolls. What you're going to do while you're waiting for your car to charge? Sausage rolls, can't beat them. Right, so yeah, Ecotricity failed us big time. We did manage to get a few miles in the car from Ecotricity, but it was really slow. It was about 3.5 to 4 kilowatt hours, which is pretty poor when you consider it was meant to be 50, and it's at a service station on a major A road. So what we've done is relocated to Morrisons just down the road, and you may be able to hear the charger humming in the background because this is much better. And also, although I'd got the app downloaded, you could pay by just swiping your credit card as well. So back to the car, and we're going to have another cup of tea, and this time I reckon we should be able to get up to 80% charge quite quickly. So yeah, thank you Morrisons. So I just thought I'd record this because I mentioned earlier that we'd moved to Morrisons and the Genie Point charger, and I just thought I'd share the dashboard with you while we're doing this. So we're not going to stay for 55 minutes to fully charge because we don't need really, we just want to get up to 80%. But if you look at the sort of mileage and the percentage over on the right hand side, you'll probably see that's been going up as I've been chatting to you. We can actually see the mileage increasing. We've gone from about 50 or 60 miles earlier to 104 miles in just a few minutes. So really pleased with this. These chargers seem much better. There you go, another mile on there. So yeah, just enough time to have a cup of tea. We'll get it up to 80%, and then we're going to go to our next destination, which is going to be Brimham Rocks. Rather than going to Harrogate, we're going to go to Brimham Rocks because we'll have enough miles to get there. Okay, going to disconnect the car now. The charge was absolutely flying, probably 20 minutes or so to put a hell of a lot of miles and percentage charge in there. So going to disconnect when we get to 80% because that's when it will slow down. But big tick in the box for Genie Point and Morrisons, so thanks very much for that. Hi folks, so just thought I'd record this little bit. This is from the Airbnb we're staying in at the moment, and rather than you keep seeing my face every day, I thought what it'd be a good idea is to, when we talk about charging and where we've been and the miles and stuff, is just use some photographs instead and show some of the nice places that we've managed to see using this trip. So yeah, you won't really see me on camera doing these, and we'll have a look at some photos along the way. So the first stop, having done the journey up, we got enough charge at Morrisons and Genie Point to press on beyond Harrogate temporarily, and we ended up in Brimham Rocks, which is a fascinating place. You've seen the photos as we're talking, and did that for the afternoon, and then headed back down to Harrogate to basically top the car up ready for the following day. Okay, so third charging session of the day. Not because other than the very first one that we've had any issues, but so yeah, the first one, the Ecotricity one was a failure. Genie Point one that we did, that we topped the car up basically to get us up to Brimham Rocks, was fantastic. And we've just arrived in Harrogate, which is our final destination for today, and we're at the council building. And they've got 3 chargers available. True to form, one of them's faulty with a note on it. And I've just had a really nice chat with the guy who's just finished charging his car here, and we've just jumped onto this charger. Interestingly, on ZapMap it says that these are also Genie Point chargers, but there's no sign of any Genie Point branding here. But the good news is, all up and running and working. We can see that it's charging quite nicely. And good thing about this one, you can actually see the screens and see what you're doing. So we'll let that charge, give us plenty for the rest of the weekend, and our days out for tomorrow and the day after. So day 2, and plenty of charge in the car thanks to the car park at the council offices in Harrogate. So today we're going to meet our friends in Malham, and we've got a walk planned where we're going to go to Janet's Foss, Gordale Scar, and then onto the limestone pavements at Malham Cove. And again, plenty of miles to be able to get there, get back. And again, what we'll probably do is pop to the council offices to top the car up. Basically, absolute bargain, £3.50 for 30 minutes charge. Charges very fast. 50 kilowatt charger and works perfectly, so we actually get quite a lot of miles in for £3.50, so a bit of a bargain really. And again, what we'll do is top up at the end of each day, and that means that we can move on to the next set of touring first thing the following morning with no worries about whether we've got any juice in the car. Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, we did decide to top the car back up at the council offices. Again, I'm sure you don't want to see another video of the same charger. But again, we topped up to 80%, and that was because we've got a little bit of a journey planned tomorrow, a little bit of a circular road trip. So the plan is to go to Richmond, have a pot around Richmond Castle and around the town, then up to Barnard Castle. So we're just heading up into County Durham briefly, and then we're going to come back to Harrogate via a place called Druid's Temple, somewhere I've always wanted to visit. And again, what we'll do is on our way back from Druid's Temple, we'll get the car topped up again, ready to come home the following day. Okay, on our way back from Barnard Castle, Druid's Temple and Richmond Castle, and we're stopping off at an Instavolt charger. This is in Ripon on the way home, We've got enough charge to get back, but we thought we'd come and give these a go because they're brand new chargers. As you can see, there's a bank of 4 of them. No app needed, just tap and go on the card and literally just pulled up, plugged in. Just use my watch to do contactless, and as you can see it's flying at the moment, so all very good, so chuffed with that. I'm absolutely loving these Instavolt screens. They're really clear, no trouble seeing them in the bright sunlight, and as you can see down at the bottom there, you've got contactless there, no app, and then you can see clear as day. We've got 49.7 kilowatts going into the car, 34% battery at the moment, 18 miles have been added, and so far cost £1.93, so just over 10p a mile, probably about 11p a mile, but clear as day, information's brilliant, and superb. Highly recommend Instavolt. Okay, yeah, we're up to 80%, so the power's dropping now, so we'll call it a day here, but as you can see we've added 87 miles, £9.56, so not the cheapest of chargers by any means, but the fact that there's 4, no waiting, nice and convenient, and managed to get breakfast and a pair of socks while we were waiting, so there you go, can't be bad. Afternoon. Okay, interesting development. We're on our way home and we've got a great 100 kilowatt Instavolt charger at junction 30 of the M1 lined up, 100 kilowatt as well, which would be fantastic. And as we're approaching, we suddenly find out that the M1 is closed and can't get to junction 30. Fortunately, the sat-nav on the car spotted a charger at a junction, so we jumped off and decided to jump on there, get some charge just to make sure we got enough to get home, and that's when the fun started. So you can probably see this is a BP Pulse. Well, it's actually an old Polar charger that's been rebranded for BP, and we had all sorts of fun getting connected. We signed up before we came away, but we haven't had our card come through yet, so we haven't got our membership number. So we tried to do it as a guest, and the contactless wouldn't work, so we gave up on that. Ended up ringing the phone number because we tried the app, and on the app it was asking for a charger number, and I don't know whether you can see, but there is no number on here, and also the charger doesn't appear on BP Pulse's map either, on their own map on the app. So in the end we had to ring them up, and bit of a convoluted number of sessions of getting connected, but with their help via a phone call we got connected and we're now charging. So it seems to be working okay now. There's a cabbie here as well who's waiting to get on, and he says once you've got the card and your membership number it works fine, but if you're trying to do it via the app without a membership number, a bit of a problem. So anyway, hopefully we're getting up to 70% now, so once we get to 80% we've got enough to get us home, but yeah, not a great experience for BP Pulse. Right, we're now back home. I think the M1 closure does a bit of favour, to be honest, because it forced us to get off the motorway, and instead what we did is we took a cross-country journey back over the Peak District to get home. So I think in the end it worked out for the best, but what I'd like to do now really is just wrap the whole thing up by just doing a review of the mileage that we covered and the cost of the charging, and then what we'll do for a bit of fun, we'll have a quick game of Snog, Marry, Avoid, and see where we're rated all of the individual charges along the way. Okay, let's start by taking a look first of all at the mileage that we did on the trip. So started at home on 1,368 miles, and by the end of the trip we'd done 1,836, and that obviously gives us a total mileage of 468 miles for the road trip. So let's just recap on the charging that we did along the way. So I've counted the home charge that we started with, because we started the car full. I reckon it cost us about £2.50 to charge the car from empty. So started at that point. First charge was Ecotricity on Ferrybridge Services. Massive failure there. As a result, we only ended up paying them £1.59. So their loss, because when we got to Genie Point down the road, we paid them £12 for a more or less a complete charge. That could have been Ecotricity's money. Their business model must be completely screwed if that's what's happening to them. So absolutely bonkers. Within on 2 separate days we had charges at Harrogate Council. One we got charged £3.50 for. The other one we didn't get charged for, as per the tip that we got from the guy with the Nissan Leaf, who said that one of the chargers doesn't always charge you. And then after doing the road trip and going to Richmond, etc., we topped up with Instavolt at Ripon. That come to £9.58. And then on the way back, when the M1 was closed, we stopped off at the BP Pulse and just topped it up a little bit to make sure we got enough to get home. That come down to £4.26. So in total, the whole road trip I think cost us £33.43. Obviously much cheaper than doing the equivalent miles in a petrol or diesel car. We reckon that works out about 7p a mile, just to give you some sort of idea. Now, of course, if we were charging from home for all of those charges, I reckon it's costing us about £1, 1.5p a mile to charge at home. That comes out at around £7 rather than £33. So you can see there's a massive difference between home charging and public charging. And really, I suppose that's one of the things I would say, that at the moment it isn't really much cheaper to have an EV if you can't home charge. Okay, so let's finish the review with a quick game of Snog, Marry, Avoid. Those who've never played this before, you get 3 choices and you've got to choose which one fits into each category. So let's start first of all with Snog. I've got to put that down as Instavolt. Probably the sexiest chargers that we used along the way. Very easy to use, but expensive, not cheap, but worth it for the convenience. Genie Point probably come a close second. Again, very easy to use charger. Again, not particularly cheap though. Marry, that's got to be Harrogate Council. Good value chargers, easy to use, and very reliable and dependable. So yeah, Marry Harrogate Council. BP Pulse really falls into the category between Marry and Avoid, and as you can imagine, Ecotricity would be the one that we'd avoid, because that was just a bad experience all round. So that sort of concludes the reviews of all the different chargers along the way. Alright, we'll conclude it there. Hopefully you've enjoyed following the journey, and maybe learned a few things along the way as well. It's certainly been a learning experience for us, and to be honest, it's not been too traumatic. Yeah, not everything went perfect, we didn't expect it to. We've learned a hell of a lot, to be absolutely honest. I think we've finally cut our teeth as an EV owner. So I was going to sort of wrap all of the series of videos up here, but I've got one more just lined up, and just sort of where that will come out in a few days' time. And that's really just my thoughts on EVs in general. Nothing to do with the Peugeot at all, just EVs in general. The government's plan to sort of stop selling internal combustion engine cars by 2030, and how that could possibly happen with the current charging infrastructure, and also some thoughts about how we might get around it. So if you want to watch that, that'd be great, and I'll be also interested in other people's feedback on that, and we'll try and get that out in a few days. But in the meantime, thanks very much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it and found it useful. Speak to you soon.